look, everyone, I'll be honest, I'm beyond frustrated with that result. And I think it's going to be very difficult for some of that frustration not to spill over as I try to react to that game and try and make sense of everything, because I didn't think that was a disastrous performance the whole way through. I thought the first half, we largely had them where we wanted them, but we took our foot off the gas so much in that second half. And you know what? Actually, that is a compliment to Arsenal, almost, to say that we took our foot off the gas like it was somewhat on purpose. Brighton raised their levels, but our quality absolutely just fell off a cliff in that second half. We were absolutely shocking in that second half. The ability on the ball, the decision making, everything was so poor from Arsenal in that second half. Like I said, first half, it was all right. Largely, they kind of didn't really do anything, Brighton. We scored a really good goal. I mean, how many passes in that goal for Ethan Nwaneri? And you know what, you're probably going, yeah, this is a tricky place to go at half-time. All right. Second half, though, what was that? What was that from Arsenal? And look, Brighton played well. You got to give credit. I really wish I could sit here and say that, you know, we got one over Fabian Hurtzler and Joel Veltman and all that, and Joao Pedro, but we didn't. You know, ultimately, they raised their levels and they were bullying us in that second half. I think in the first half, we bullied them a little bit. I think we got a bit overrun in midfield. But we were kind of a lot more organised and a lot more secure in what we were doing. Second half, they just sort of ran all over us. But look, when it's a result like this, where there's so much frustration, I tend to move away from a match report and going through all the main moments. But there were some crucial bits to talk about, and then I'll kind of give my overall frustrations towards the end of this. In terms of the big key match moments, I mean, Nwaneri scored, and really fair play to him, because it's a 17-year-old that stepped up, scored the goal, and actually was the only one who looked like he was getting in some vaguely threatening positions. So I want to give him major credit there. I will say, though, and I had a debate back and forth with Goonerverse after the Everton draw, when he was sort of saying we didn't see enough from Nwaneri when he came on for about 20, 30 minutes against Everton a couple of weeks ago. And I said, look, you can't be talking about a 17-year-old. But what I will say is, I actually felt that he was still struggling a bit in this game. And I don't know if Arteta's substitution was in recognition of that or something else, because he brought Martinelli on at half-time for Nwaneri. But I sort of think, if that's because you thought Nwaneri was struggling, then okay. I didn't think Nwaneri was brilliant despite getting the goal, but he was also looking like our best threat. So I was surprised about that. Could you have got Nwaneri in the 10? That's the other thing to talk about. Ødegaard didn't start, so he went with Rice, Marino, Jorginho. Look, with the injuries and players missing, then maybe you can somewhat forgive it. But actually not really, because he's still got Martinelli on the bench. But then you also wonder, well, Ødegaard was unwell, but well enough to come on for 30 minutes? Now, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, when you're ill, sometimes your energy levels can be really flat, and you only had enough for 30 minutes. But that was really strange. I didn't think when Ødegaard came on, he really made any difference whatsoever, apart from winning the odd free kick either. So that was all really frustrating. Like I said, my thoughts are a little bit all over the place. But we go 1-0 up. Well on Nwaneri getting the goal. Look, he looks a real talent, but there's no doubt we need to sign some players as well who can play in that position, because we can't just be relying on him. We've got to look after him too and get quality, as well as making sure that we still have a path for him. Now, second half, let's talk about the penalty they get. I've never seen that penalty given before. Maybe there is an example out there. I've never seen a penalty where two players have gone for a header, one's got it first, the other's sort of slightly caught the other player with his head, and they've given a penalty. Normally that goes down as like a clash of heads, right? As just an incident. I can see, thing is, I can see why that would be a penalty. Saliba goes with his head, doesn't get it, catches Pedro, and it's a penalty. Like, I could see why that would be a rule in football. But what I would say is, though, it's like, I've never seen that given ever. And I do think, look, we didn't deserve anything more than what we got in the end. So please don't think that this is me making excuses. But just analysing the decision in itself, I just think we are so often on the receiving ends of decisions I've just never seen go against other teams. I've never seen that before. I've never seen two players go for a header, one gets it, the other doesn't, and they give a penalty for that. What I would say, though, you could argue that is somewhat comparable to, maybe it's not comparable actually, but, you know, it's a bit like West Ham fans when they were defending their goalkeeper for catching Gabriel in the head. You know, you could say it was two players going for the ball, but no, I can see why that's given, but it did feel awfully harsh. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below, people. Was that a pen or was it not? I'm not sure. Second half, though, and from that moment, because I actually thought Arsenal were doing okay up to the penalty. We weren't really creating any chances, but we probably should have gone 2-0 up if Marino connects from that Declan Rice free kick. And, we're looking largely quite comfortable for all of Brighton's play. I don't think they were doing too much. I thought we were doing all right. But once they got that penalty, then Minte puts one across goal that they could have scored from, and we were sort of hanging on a little bit. I just think if you ever needed an advert for the lack of quality in this Arsenal team, you saw it then. You saw it in that game. Look, Trossard huffed and puffed. I'm not going to question whether he tried to make things happen. He absolutely did. As did Martinelli when he came on. But my word, there was such a lack of quality from running into players to overhit pass. Actually, sorry, it's not overhit passes. We overhit passes maybe in the final third. How often do we underhit passes? How often do we undercook the pass to players? It's just so often. The weight of our passes has been shocking recently. Apart from pretty much in that first goal where we strung 20 passes together or something and scored a really good goal. But on the ball, we were really poor today. And there was such a lack of quality in the final third. I didn't think Brighton were defending immensely. I thought they pressed really well. But once we got through that press, I thought there was a team there we could go at. And we didn't. No one really wanted to run at Brighton. No one really wanted to commit their players. No one really wanted to just cause some havoc in that team, in that defence. It was all very safe. When there was kind of a sight at goal, it was either, no, I'll turn back in and play an extra pass, or an awful strike like Trossard's towards the end. There were some poor headers from set pieces. Then there was some really poor passing. And I thought what you saw at the end there was a team out there with just profiles in the wrong areas. Martinelli, a direct winger on his right foot, running at someone. He's really uncomfortable running on his right foot on the outside, Martinelli. So could you have got Jesus out on the right? Could you have got Trossard in the false 9? Could you have got Martinelli out on the left? So you're giving their right fullback, who I can't remember, with Veltman, so you give him a different problem to handle in the game because he had Trossard locked up for most of that match. Could you have just mixed it up, Mikel? And he never really does. He never wants to roll the dice like that. And then I floated the idea of Declan Rice at right back. Now, when you look at that last 10 minutes, how often did we get the ball out to Martinelli? And I'm not blaming Thomas Partey for this. He's not a right back. Pulling him out of midfield, I think, cost us control in this game, especially after the way we played against Brentford. We should have kept him there in some way. But I sort of understand that with Ødegaard maybe not fit to start, you have to do something a little bit exceptional, and Jorginho ends up playing. I mean, I don't love it, but whatever. But I'm watching Thomas Partey towards the end of that game, and again, I'm not blaming him because it's not the kind of player he is. Putting crosses in the box to no one, over-under hitting passes, looking really uncomfortable. And then when the ball did get out to Martinelli or Ødegaard, we needed a driving support. And that's why I was calling for Declan Rice to be out there. And if Partey had been in the 6 in midfield, maybe we would have actually retained possession, had a little bit more control of that midfield, where we were sort of getting our run in terms of legs, but we just didn't have any control or quality in this game. And I look at Mikel sometimes, and of course he's a really good young manager. Of course he's done so much good. Of course there's so much about the game that I don't know that he's already forgotten. I know all that. But I just wonder whether he can ever be a little bit more creative. And I mean, look, who am I to tell Arteta to be creative in his tactics? He literally deployed a Cruyff diamond, and here's me, the idiot, making a video on it all. We haven't seen it since those 2 games. But I just feel like profiles are such a big thing in this Arsenal team. It's such a big thing to have the right profiles, so you have the right combinations, the right angles, and everyone can understand their role a little bit better. And I'm disappointed that he never tried to do a little bit more on that. But to be honest, let me not even say any much more on Arteta there, because I do think a few players missing, to be fair. That's kind of the only kind of grace I'll give him. But the players were really poor. This was the lack of quality shown by some of these players. I think some of these players need to really worry about their futures. I really do. I think some of them need to really worry come the summer. The reality is that the kind of buyers we're hoping for won't come in January. But I think a lot of these players need to really worry about the summer. I put Trossard in there. I put Jesus in there. Hell, I put Martinelli in there. Marino, I thought, had a good first half, but my word, we need to be seeing more. Partey or Jorginho, one of them won't be here beyond the summer. I think a lot of players need to really, back up their ideas and have a good look. Brentford, what they did the other day, they won through sheer wanting it, needing, they fought for it. And I don't think the players lack necessarily fight today, but fight's not always going to be enough. There's another team on that pitch trying really hard too. You've got to have some quality. And it's why with the Brentford game, I was really reluctant to really praise any quality because I don't think we showed that much in that game. I think we just wanted it more. And I made a real point of that in my analysis and thoughts on the game. Today, yeah, Brighton wanted it just as much. So were we going to show any quality? We didn't. I don't really think there's much more I can say, everyone. You're going to ask about the title race. You're going to wonder about the title race. Look, I didn't think we were going to win it anyway. I think you have to just keep putting points on the board and keep fighting. But, you know, I didn't think we were going to win it. And I haven't thought that since Newcastle/Chelsea. That was when, you know, I started the season thinking we wouldn't win the league. And then after the draw at the Man City and the early results and the way we played, I thought, no, this team has something. Still think we'll win silverware. I still think we're a very good side. But we need to have some players fit and back. And my word, we need to spend some money in this window. And it'll be a shambles if we don't. They are really, really, really pissing away the season if they decide they don't want to sign any players this January. But look, everyone, I'm sure there's more I could say. I said I need more from Mourinho. I thought first half decent, but second half just takes too long on the ball. For all the quality Trossard has in the final third, I wish he'd be more daring. For all the pace Martinelli has, I wish he'd beat his man more. I wish Jesus, for as busy as he is, you know, I wish it would make more happen for us in a game. And, you know, constantly rotating midfields and changing back fours is never going to be a solid foundation for this team. There's probably more players I can mention, but yeah, like I said, this is one of those where it's particularly hard. You're particularly frustrated, pent up anger, wound up, and you're thinking, try and make sense of that game and that result. And it's quite difficult to, because I'm just ultimately just so disappointed. This team won't win the league because they can't put together a consistent run of games. 3 wins in a row, and then there's a draw in there. And whenever that happens, and you've got a team like Liverpool who's steamrolling ahead, it's just, you're just not giving yourselves a chance. All right, I will leave it there now. I've rambled on long enough. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, people. Listen, we roll on to next week to the Cups. Next week's big. Next week is really big. I need 2 wins, 2 very good wins, because we need to come out with silverware. Catch you on a bit.